All right, good evening, everyone. Looks like we have a quorum. People will trickle in, I think. Now we got a couple more. Okay. So yeah, good evening. It's February 7th, 2024. This is the February meeting of ANC 1C. I think we have a decent little meeting set up tonight. Should be good. Let's start with brief introductions. I think last month we went from high to low. Let's start with 1C01. How does that sound? We'll do middle out next month. How's that sound? I think they got promoted as you go. Introduction, starting with you, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel Michelson Horowitz here, Commissioner for 1C01. I'm at the southern end of Adams Morgan, bounded by Florida to the south, Wyoming to the north, east on 18th, and west on Connecticut and Columbia roads.
Hi, I'm Commissioner Lee Dixon. I represent 1CO2, which is Colorama Triangle, the wedge between Connecticut and Columbia.
Hi, Peter Wood, 1CO3, right in the middle, 18th to 19th, built more to Wyoming.
Hello, hello. Commissioner Joe Van Y, 1CO4. We're the northwest corner of the ANC, at the corner of 18th and Columbia, that chunk.
Hello, I'm Commissioner Stevens representing 1C05. We are the portion of Lanier Heights closest to Rock Creek Park and Walter Pierce Park.
Hi, Commissioner Laughlin, 1CO6, the other side of Lanier Heights, closer to 16th Street.
Hey everyone, Commissioner Jake Valaschini, 1CO7, which is Florida up to Columbia, 18th to 17th, basically.
Commissioner Barney Shapiro, 1CO8, southwest corner, which is Florida, 16th Street, up over to Calorama, over to Ontario, Champlain, Ontario. Yeah.
Looks like Commissioner Jones isn't here. He's in communication today, so I'll send a message, see if he's around. But let's get to it. So let's begin with chair's report. I guess it can be counted as a chair report. So Commissioner Laughlin and I have been working on one item that will hopefully develop further. I don't know if anyone's heard, there's rats in Adams Morgan, so we're trying to address that a little bit. The idea, which we've kind of discussed with some of you a little bit, but it's still in progress, is, and we'll post this tomorrow, I've already shared it with some of my constituents, trying to have people in the neighborhood, as well as some visitors, but ideally residents that know it best, identify hotspots in different alleys and other places of where rats have infested. And then ideally, the plan is to try to organize an in-person event where we can pick up trash, have a speaker or two from relevant agencies, and collect signatures on the streets of those hotspots, because Department of Health will then be able to abate that street if we do it right. So that's kind of the idea. We'll keep everyone updated as that progresses, but be on the lookout. Probably put it on the list or maybe some other places tomorrow, but hopefully that'll be something good and we can get together in person for a reason other than following Robert's Rules of Order, something that's a little bit more low-key, right? Or I guess less low-key if we're picking up trash, but hopefully it goes all right. And then, yeah, that's it for a chair report. I guess I don't really have anything about website updates, but it's a work in progress in communication with the intern. So hopefully we'll start making progress on that this month. Vice Chair, you have any updates?
No, nothing related to the vice chair's position.
Secretary Valaschini, how about you?
I do just the schedule, which I emailed out to the neighborhood already. Tonight is our ANC meeting. Next Wednesday, we have an ABC and Public Safety Committee meeting on the 14th at 7 p.m. on Zoom. On the 21st, we will have our PZT committee meeting also at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And on Wednesday, the 28th, we will have our Public Services and the Environment Committee meeting, again, 7 p.m. On Zoom. That's it for the Secretary's report.
One thing that came to mind that actually Sean reminded me of, next week is Valentine's Day. It's our meeting. So if we can be prompt so that people can get to any dates they might have or not have, I think that'd be nice, but we'll do what we can.
It's a very short agenda for next Wednesday.
Treasurer Shapiro.
All right, and by the way, Jake, I will not be able to make next Wednesday's meeting. Our current balance at Truist is $2,370.24. We have 2 outstanding checks of $750 total. So our actual book balance is $1,620.24. We're in the process of trying to, every time we give either the Office of ANC or the auditor's office documents, they say that well, the OANC says that's fine, you've done everything, but then they ask for something else. So we're just continuing to go through it step by step. One of the things that the auditor requires is verification from our bank, which I applied for, I guess, almost 10 days ago. It cost us $30. I know $30 may not seem much, but it's a waste of money. And I don't believe the auditor has the authority to require this, but it's just one more thing they keep doing. I'm very disappointed in the auditor and what they seem to view that, and I don't know whether other treasurers go through this, but they seem to view that we're paid employees of DC government, and we have plenty of time to do whatever they want. I'm sure Jake, or not Jake, but Joe and Peter will attest to the fact that I've got to go around and get signatures continually for them, and it's almost comical. But their other view, they don't seem to be there to help us. They seem to be there to torment us.
Yeah,
and I hope they get that message.
No, I appreciate your work. I know that with the last ANC 1C commission, similar things. Basically, it's just an inefficient process of getting things done, especially with signature collections and stuff. Hopefully, I have a question. What was the last order that we received an allotment for? Is that Q3 2023?
Oh, no, we haven't gotten. Yes, we got Q3, but over a year ago, we got Q3. So we're waiting for Q4 and the first quarter of this year to get our allotments. So that's about 10 grand.
Okay, that's what my next question was. How much money are we owed? Okay, we'll start pulling some fingers or what teeth. I don't know the analogy, but let's get some money.
Well, I asked them if I can come down in person. I never, the responses are always late, or there's a staff meeting, a 3-hour staff meeting, things like that. It just is. It is. I'm a little disappointed in how Ms. Patterson is running her office.
I know
I really am.
Not just with you. Hopefully, I know you've been doing a lot of work. Do appreciate it. Hopefully, our bank account's getting to the point where we need that.
Yeah, because we do have a grant that we voted to support the DC archaeology. But I know we can't cut them the check because we don't have enough money in our bank account.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so I will circle back. They haven't reached out about it, but I'll keep them in the loop about, we're just
You
waiting.
have the grant form, right, to fill out,
Yep.
don't you? Yes.
Yeah, and I already did a basic, and I have the email receipts for it. I already checked with OANC to make sure that it would clear them, and they said it looked good. So I know I have the email though. I have it in email.
Appreciate everyone's patience. Yeah, we'll just have to continue. I know, like I said, Commissioner Shapiro, you've been doing a ton, so maybe we'll triple up and pressure the people that have the bank accounts to finally get this through. But it's
Well, I'm waiting to get the document back from Truist.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't walk in and just get it. They send it to a regional office and then send it back. That's with Truist. With other banks, you can. Okay, and they don't charge you, but I'm unwilling to change banks now. Maybe next year the commission will decide to change banks.
Noted. Thanks for the update. Let's move on to less depressing matters, on to single member district updates. We started with low numbers, start with high. I guess keep with you, Commissioner Shapiro. Any SMD updates?
Okay. We have in 1C08, the two overwhelming things are the Meridian development, that's a court case, and they have not. The neighbors have not come forward to request money. They said they were, but they have not. And since we don't have any, it doesn't even matter. And then the other issue is the zoning commission case, which the zoning commission has now had, by my count, 14 and a half hours of hearings on it. Is that right, Peter?
Oh yeah, I'll get into that in a second.
All right. So that's about all we have.
Thanks, Commissioner Foskini. And if you're chair of a committee, of course, give some committee updates too, please.
Sure. Thank you. Not a whole lot in the SMD itself. There were some trash issues on Champlain Street that I worked with some neighbors, and gratefully those are all cleaned up now. So thanks to everybody for their patience on all the Champlain Street trash that was just hanging out there for a few weeks until we were able to get DPW to come and do a pickup. And thanks for everyone who joined me in submitting way too many 311 requests until it was finally actually completed. Other than that, for the ABC and Public Safety Committee, I hope we're able to make it a really short meeting next week. We could even talk about taking it down. We have the public safety update from the police, but we still haven't heard back from the new community officer yet. I've texted, I've called, and I've written several emails and I haven't gotten anything back yet. So we kind of need to figure that one out because we need updates from our local police precinct, but haven't heard back yet. And then there are 3 new placards that have been noticed for us since the end of January. Those are for District Smoke Shop, which is actually on Georgia Avenue, nowhere near us whatsoever. So I don't think that we actually need to be involved on that one and can allow that to go by. Then there's another cannabis retailer license for the Box Medical, which is on 14th Street, also nowhere near us. And then the last one, thank you, Jerry. I will send you the 311 requests. And then the last one is for, let me scroll up. There it is. Bar Senna Kana, which y'all probably remember was actually going to go in the old walk and roll space. Apparently that space didn't work out. The exact same restaurateur is now entering into a license for another spot just a little bit up the street from there. What they're asking for is exactly the same as what we already approved for Bar Kana. So all they have to do is transfer the settlement agreement from the old location to the new location. To me, that doesn't seem like it's worthy to have a whole ABC committee meeting just for that one thing. So we might be able to settle all this offline and still put it on the agenda for March if we feel like we need to do that. Those are the only the new Kristen, the name of the new restaurant is Bar Kana. The licensee is Bar Rado LLC. And the location on that is 2412 18th Street Northwest. It's a normal retailer Class C license with a couple of normal endorsements that carried over from the old establishment that are ones that we're very used to in the neighborhood. A little bit of entertainment on Friday and Saturday and some carry out and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's it for the ABC and Public Safety Committee meeting. We may have a discussion and decide to take it down. This is notification to the neighborhood. If so, I will send around an email, just let everyone know that that's the place. Yep, that's right, Kristen. This is the Radovan's place.
Thank you. Commissioner Laughlin.
One update for the 1C06. So, and it hits home because it was in my building. So on the 1700 block of Lanier, we had someone that was stealing packages on on a daily basis. And was breaking it into 1705 using a screwdriver and a pair of scissors to open the door. And we did have camera evidence of it. And there was an arrest made 2 days ago. So and our understanding is the individual was basically casing most, even including the row homes on the 1700 block of Lanier. So if you feel that you may have been a victim of this crime, please contact me. We are working with police officer McNamara to put together additional cases, because we were told if we don't file some kind of charge, the individual will basically just be let go. So our building is filing. We had several. It was like we're in a battle with her that she kept breaking in, and we couldn't like figure it out. And then we finally got the video evidence that she was. Yeah, so we're fixing our door too. So just if you feel like you may have had some packages stolen and have particularly any video evidence, then we can corroborate it with what we have. But other than that, things are going. I did have, and I don't know if the PZT committee will do this. There were questions about the bus plan, and if there's any better rendering of the plan, or if I didn't know if we were going to have them come back and speak at a full ANC meeting, or but if that's the case, I'd love to hear about that. That's it.
Thanks.
So everything's all quiet in 1C05. No update.
Very little from 1C04. The one thing I'll say, I had a couple constituents reach out just to express some support and excitement for DOT's planned updates to Columbia Road. Excited to see that plan come out, and to see that moving forward. There's some energy in the community around that, but otherwise no other pressing updates.
So 1CO3, one of the first things that came to my radar when I was elected like 3 years ago was that there was money in a bank account somewhere for Hargrove Park, Ann Hughes Hargrove Park, which is immediately adjacent to Calhoun Park. And no one knew why it was just sitting around. It took a bit of finagling, but construction's happening. So the renovations are happening. I see the crew, they're out there at like 7, 10 every day. So that's good. Hopefully Unity Park will be next. I know that both have been, well, of course, this one's been permitted. Unity's also gotten its permits. So I think it should be resurfaced in the next weeks or months or something. Don't have a schedule, but that would be good. I've also, it's performance oversight and soon to be budget oversight testimony season. I testified this morning, actually. It's not really one CO3 specific, but I testified in representation of 1CO3 to a matter that we've all discussed. And I think it was mentioned on last month's meeting, special elections. Of me and coincidentally another commissioner, I think in Ward 5, testified saying the Board of Elections should manage the elections that are special for ANCs. The committee seems really kind of open to that idea, and they were receptive, and it looks like we might make progress. So that would be cool. There's not a lot of them that happen every year, so that's a good progress. Hopefully, we'll see more in the coming future. Also, not in 1CO3, but I've testified on it, and it's pertinent to our neighborhood, which is the development at 1617 U Street. Like Commissioner Shapiro said, it has been a very long process for reasons that are a bit complicated, but some of the parties in opposition have been, I think, deliberately taking as long as they can to ask redundant, sometimes irrelevant questions of the parties that are either applying for this map amendment or in favor. So that's been unfortunate. It's been almost 15 hours of testimony so far, and the process still isn't, it's on to the 4th day, and I think next week, something like that. So I got it on the 3rd day. They let the public testify, and that included me. So you can find my testimony online if you want, but we'll see where that goes. It'll affect our neighborhood because the one thing I think that's been relevant is the push for having a library somewhere nearby. I'm trying to get more details because I think that there might be some movement on that potentially happening, but it's not clear. That could potentially be a location to have that happen, but it depends on if the zoning change happens and all these things. So we'll see. Hopefully we get a library. But if anything, there will not be changes this calendar year and maybe not this calendar decade, but hopefully somewhere in between. Commissioner Falskini, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just the update that I have on Unity Park is that they're waiting for the farmers market to be done, and then they needed the weather to shift before they could start that in, because I guess the setting of the type of ground that they're going to do, that like squishy permeable ground, requires a certain temperature for them to come in and do the work. So now that the farmers market is done and the weather is getting warmer, they should be starting that before the farmers market starts back up again. That's my update.
That's good to know. I imagine the fluctuations from 10 degrees to 80 degrees are not ideal for installing that type of thing. So makes sense. One CO2, Commissioner Dixon.
Sure. So I don't have any updates regarding 1CO2. I was pretty quiet. At our last PZT meeting, we did get a presentation about the rock and roll half marathon, which this year will be March 16th. The route is the same as last year. However, there's hope that in future years they'll be able to change the route so it's not so disruptive to the neighborhood, but this year it's too late. And then in addition to that, we did discuss a resolution calling for the reform of DC's vacant and blighted property laws and regulations. Big shout out to Commissioner Stevens for making that happen. And at the upcoming PZT meeting on February 21st, we will be meeting with Kevin Harrison, and he's going to present his the NOI regarding the Columbia Road redevelopment project. That's all I got.
That's great. Thanks. And yeah, just a note, I was the person who made that suggestion for the route change of the half marathon, which I think I did a few months ago, but we'll see where it leads because a lot of traffic gets aggravatedly redirected to like Northeast DC, right? You have to go all the way to past North Capitol, but not this year. 1CO1.
Hi. Oh, thank you. I'm monitoring the construction at the Adams School on 19th. I've heard from a lot of neighbors about some issues. There was even a gas line that was breached in the vicinity of the crane placement. That's been resolved, but there have been some issues. If you see any issues, if you have any concerns about safety, trash, anything, let me know so I can forward it to our colleagues at DCPS and to council member's office and make sure that it gets addressed. Other than that, I did see a flyer went up on California Street about connecting many of the homes on the street to the new 8-inch water main. There's a phone number to call if you are one of those properties. So it's a whole list, and there was I got a photo of the flyer. So if you think you might be on the list and you're not connected to the 8-inch water main, I can get you the information for the contractor who has been assigned by DC Water to do the work. And then, yes, I was going to answer on the 21st is our PZT committee meeting with Kevin Harrison about the NOI, and I'm open to hearing feedback from my constituents and neighbors about the plan, noting that it did differ from the some of the concept drawings in that it restores the residential parking on Columbia Road west of Colorado Park. So I know that a lot of folks were concerned about that loss of residential parking. That has been restored. Yeah, that's all for 1CO1. Thanks.
That's great. Definitely a 1CO3 issue, but you guys summarized it much better than I could have, so I appreciate it. I think the next item on our agenda is an update on the Ontario Road construction project from Pepco. I think we have a couple people from Pepco here. So once they get promoted, we'll hear. We're all ears. There's a lot of construction going on in the neighborhood lately, so it's I think a good thing. Welcome. I imagine Trevoris, the lead.
Yes.
How you doing?
Hey, good evening. How are you guys doing? Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come before you today and provide an update on where we are in terms of construction. Thank you to all the ANC commissioners as well as participants in the audience. I do have a few colleagues. I see Anna, and then I believe there's Rudy who's on, and then also Shamira Edmonds, I believe, if they can be advanced to presentation mode, if that's possible. And then I will go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen and show you guys. Uh-oh, wrong screen. Okay, can you guys see that?
That works. Maybe put it in presentation mode, but
That's what I'm. Yeah, no, that's it. I was just getting that done. Okay. Okay, can you guys see all of that? Can you see that? Let's see. Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Again, we are just providing an update about our activity in the area. As many of you all know, okay, here it is. As many of you all know, a lot of the work that's currently being done at this time is preliminary work for the Champlain substation construction, which is scheduled to start next year, hopefully Q2 of next year. As you all know, the substation is part of the larger capital grid project. We actually just completed and energized the Harvard substation, also in Ward 1, along Sherman and Harvard Street in December. And then we've completed much of the transmission line as well. And this project, of course, is purposed to upgrade our facilities to accommodate a lot of the load growth that has taken place in the area and to continue to serve customers in the future. We are seeking community advisory group members to be a part of the CAG. The Public Service Commission did order us to establish a CAG and definitely would like to have recommendations from you all, the ANC, particularly Commissioner Phil, I'm not going to I'm not gonna even mess it up, but CO to ANC Commission about members, and would definitely like to invite you to be a member as well of the CAG. And so that brings me to what we're talking about right now, which is the current construction that's taking place. And I'll have one of my team members to share with you where we are. So far, we've completed a lot of the construction along Ontario Road. We've installed a manhole, and then we have a little bit more construction to take place along Florida Avenue as well. Altogether, we'll be done with a lot of the construction by August of this year, and then we'll move into, I'm sorry, April of this year, and then we'll have cable pulling and some other civil work that will take place, which will involve us splicing cable for an extended amount of time. It will be 24/7 for 3 weeks, sometimes 3 days at a time, us working. And that will be the next and final phase of the project. And we'll make sure to share the exact time of that once it's confirmed. Wanted to also let you all know that we've been coordinated with the Marie Reed Elementary School as well as DDOT throughout this project, providing updates to them as well. So we definitely continue to outreach, and we'll continue to do so with a community meeting that will be coming up earlier this spring once we finalize the date. But wanted to just talk a little bit more about the transmission construction, and I will actually pass it along to my colleague Anna to walk you through the next set of slides to show what we're doing, and then the next few phases of this project.
Hi everyone, my name is Anna Nazarova. I'm a responsible engineer for this project. So currently we did constructed almost everything what's shown is green, except the intersection of Ontario and Florida Road, where we're finishing up our conduit work currently. It's actually Ontario and Florida down below, but also we are getting a permits to get an additional work completed closer to Champlain and Florida Avenue, which we're targeting to be done by May 2024. And once that will be done, we will go and complete the last red part on Florida Avenue, closer to, I think it's 17th Street, Florida and 17th Street, closer to that intersection. After that, sometime in March, closer to end of March, we'll start working on the red part where is Old Morgan School and Ontario Road, where we would excavate for Barrett's Place excavation and also a free speed for preparing us for the outage, which is scheduled the first one end of April. Before all of that happens, we need to pull part of our cable in before the outage. And as you see on this slide, on the yellow highlighted areas, that's where we need to have our pulling equipment staged. It will be like a large tractor trailer with 3 reels on Florida Avenue and receiving equipment on Ontario Road, where we have like one lane open to traffic on both streets. So currently our contractor, because of how it is all set up and the manufacturing problems, we had to change to a little bit different approach. And they asking us if we could get a little bit more hours during this week. The work is projected to be like 5 days. So we're asking if it's possible to have 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. operation. There won't be any construction, and it won't be very noisy operation, just the cable pull into the manholes. If we want to receive like 8-hour operation, it might delay them, and they might stay in the area maybe 1 week longer.
Right. And we're seeking our permit for that right now. See, Commissioner Sheeny has his hand up. Sorry, I mispronounced your name earlier.
It's no problem. I sometimes I just tell people it's Falashini just to make it easier. What are normally the hours? Is it 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. or is it 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.? What are the normal hours where it would be an extension?
Right now we have like 9:30 until 3.
Yeah, and the reason why we work with the school as well. So some days we're not when we were doing construction there, we closed up earlier to accommodate the you know, pickup times there.
Got it. So this might conflict a little bit around like the pickup on Ontario Place. But it seems to me it's not a question of whether or not the hours need to happen. It's just a question of when those hours need to happen. So I'm fine
I don't
with.
think so.
How do you mean, Commissioner Shapiro?
No, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I'll add, we've also followed up with the principal at Marie Reed Elementary School as well, alerting her of this as well. And so, you know, what DDOT required us last time is just to have a written something from her. So we're following up to get that. And we'll include that in our application because we're looking to start this work the last week. Isn't it the last week of March? Isn't that correct, Anna?
We haven't actually decided exactly when it's going to be, but our contractor said will be sometime in March.
Okay.
And it'll just be in tops. It'll just be in the normal process.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And we're working to get that from them as well. We haven't filed a permit yet, but we're going to be doing that soon and talking with the reviewers, and then also including any type of written support either from the ANC. You know, you can also you know, send us something supporting this, and then waiting to get that written notification back from the school as well. And that's typically what we had to do, and partner with the school and DDOT to get permit approval and all of that.
Okay. There's a question in the chat, which is just whether or not there'll be a temporary power outage as a result of the work.
No.
Okay. Cool. Well, it seems to me this might be a good discussion in our Planning, Zoning, and Transportation Committee meeting, which is going to be scheduled for 2 weeks from now. And then our March meeting would be a time when we could talk about like an official resolution of support from the ANC. So if folks are okay with that, that seems like a good way to structure this as a ANC.
Well, I mean, I know that, and I'll just say that we're looking to like submit our applications soon. And sometimes I know like that would, I mean, I know you have your process, but DDOT would, also, be fine with an email directly from you as a single member or the ANC as well. And we've also submitted an email notification from the principal as well. So that's what we're planning to do. They just require like some type of notification, but we can definitely, have of course you have your process, but I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thanks, Javorce. I'm happy to work on just an email offline if that works for everybody else. I know this sits between my district and also Commissioner Shapiro's district, so I'd
Right.
also be interested in hearing his perspective on it.
The one issue that has come up the street, not here, but up the street, concerns that literally, can we get somebody from the city put a crossing guard, which I know will take forever. So when you put out when you have your street, the safety official, whoever your subcontractor is, perhaps at the far end, if you're going to have extended times that are going to run into when schools are actually letting out, that you might have to dedicate someone to making sure a safety issue there. That would be the north end of Ontario.
And you know what? Yeah, no, thank you for that, Mr. Shapiro. I actually got that email, oh, Shapiro, sorry, got that email from, I believe the principal might have sent that, and I believe that's a development that's taking place there, some type of construction activity. And so, with us, what our responsibility is as far as, working with DDOT, we have to submit our traffic control plans relative to the work that we're doing. And then if there's something else taking place, we'll show that information on our traffic control plan. Now, I know you're asking us to put that traffic like a flagger up there. That's something that we'll have to talk about once we're, preparing the actual permit and going over this with DDOT, sharing this concern with them and getting their recommendation, because they have to approve our traffic control plan. And so they may require that developer to put that flagger there, but we wouldn't be able to like put a flag.
No. It's not. I'm not asking you to put a flagger up at Kalorama. What I'm saying is, what you're asking for is to work till 5, that will be, for safety's sake, on the Ontario side at least. If you can have a flagger up at the north end, not all the way up at Kalorama. No, I'm not asking you to do for what's going on up there, but just in the afternoons, for safety's sake, at the north end of your work.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. My apologies.
Yeah, no. It's hard to describe it sometimes.
Yeah.
So I have a question, just to clarify the support. So we don't have an agenda item for a voting item for you tonight, but the support that you're looking is for after hours operations, correct?
Correct.
So at least in my experience, I've done in multiple of those. A single member district is completely sufficient. If it comes to where it looks like you might want stronger support in the future, we could obviously consider that, but I don't think it's necessary. We could do this quickly.
Right.
As long as those commissioners are supportive, so obviously work with them.
Thank you.
Anything else? This is great. Thanks for keeping us updated.
Yes, and there is some other phases to this, just so we can make sure that folks are aware. And this is when it relates to the freeze pit that we'll have to do. And that work will take place in different phases. And it will require us to be at a location for 24 hours for sometimes 3 days, potentially a week, at times throughout the year. And what we're doing is actually splicing the cable, the transmission cable together. And it's a particular process that requires that. And so, Anna, I don't know if you wanted to go into that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, basically we have those oil field cables which require the freezing. Otherwise, we cannot cut them in. So we need to remove them from the substation. That's why we're doing this bypass project. And because the cables are filled with the oil, we need to be there 24/7 for the splicing activities, just to make sure everything is spliced and the cable will be operating, because we cannot stop. As soon as the splicing is done, we're just going to fill the line back with the oil, and it's all needs to just, it requires like 24/7 operation. There's a lot of parts to that, and we have, for each feeder, we have 3 feeders which we are bypassing, and for each one we are going to do like 4 splices. And we have 2 type of cables. One is more complicated because of it's pressure oil cable. The other one is medium pressure cable, which is a little bit faster. But the one which is the high pressure cable requires like sometimes like up to like 2 weeks at the time of 24/7 operation. Of course, we will try to condense that time as much as possible, but just this is the normal timelines we require, and that will happen. Those weeks will happen sometime September to. This is actually the second phase. Sorry, for the first phase that will happen. I do believe. Let me see real quick. It will be June, July timeframe, just before the 4th of July. And for the next phase, that will be September and October. And we also have a third phase, which will be much faster because it's a medium pressure cable. And there will be just 2 24/7 operations, which will be done like 5 days each.
Yep, and then just to capitalize everything, is that basically we'll have a truck that's sitting on that splice, and it'll be somebody there 24/7, and a crew there working, and it just will be one particular crew working in these freeze pit locations. So you'll see them. And the reason why we're sharing this with you is we don't want you to get alarmed by the activity or somebody's always there. That's like our normal process when we're dealing with this type of cable. And again, all of this is meant to prepare for the construction of the Mount Vernon substation that'll take place in 2025. What'll happen is we'll send a letter to the residents and also send notification to the ANC once we have those dates confirmed when the actual activity will take place and the duration. Right now, we're giving you rough dates when we're having in our schedule. We'll confirm that and send a notification out via mail, also on the next door. And if you can help us to spread that out to your networks, but we'll be sending that through the mail to everyone. So just wanted to note that, and pretty much that's what we have to share. And just to also share that the Capital Grid project, the Champlain substation, is part of the multi-year rate plan that PEPCO filed in April of 13th of 2023. The last time I was here, I talked a little bit about that plan, but we have included the activity and construction of the Mount Vernon of the Champlain substation in their plan, and there are other projects that particularly will help the grid expand to allow for more solar, EV charging stations, and then all electric buildings that will be throughout the city. As you all see, it's a lot of growth taking place in Adams Morgan, and this is why we're doing projects like the Capital Grid project and other projects in our multi-year rate plan, and hope to come before the commission and seek your support with the letter about the multi-year rate plan. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I have a question from the comments, just really quick. You answered something similar before. The freeze pits, is there power interruption involved with that, or is power consistently on?
No, it's not going to be involved. The feeders, what we're working on, they're kind of transmission feeders, and they are backed up by the other feeders. So there's no power interruptions at all during the whole project.
Thank you. Was that your question, Commissioner Hoskini? Okay.
I was going to make a bad joke. I'm not going to do it.
And just
Oh, I hope it wasn't about me.
and
No, it's about the poor people that are going to be there 24/7. We should
Oh,
like
okay.
deputize them to be a neighborhood crime watch, get them like some cell phones or something so they can text in about crime.
Yeah, 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 but no, they'll be there and they will have, walkie-talkies and stuff like that. So yeah.
I do not envy them. Well, appreciate it again. Thank you so much. It's not the most exciting topic for the general public, but I'm very proud that we have this infrastructure in our neighborhood because a lot of times this stuff gets put into neighborhoods that have too much of it. So it's good that we're able to be informed and work with you to keep the project moving. I know you're all working very hard, so really appreciate that.
Thank you. And again, we would, like if we can come back next time or even just follow up about the multi-year rate plan, because I would like to talk a little bit more about that in detail and seek your support.
Sounds great. We'll coordinate something. Yeah.
Okay, no, thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Have a good night.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night. We'll move now to public comments. I believe Gerard is here. Yeah, we'll go first and then Kristen. As always, try to be mindful that we have a lot of things to go through, so just keep it to this month. That's usually helpful. I think Gerard's getting promoted. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Can everybody hear me?
You're good, yeah.
Okay. I'm out here on this community walk MPD. Please excuse me, guys. I have a couple of updates. I'm going to start with February 17th coming up down the pike. I don't have a date, but I'm asking tentatively that ANCs possibly, you can reach out to me via email, but we are putting together the mayor's office. If you give me 1 second, my phone is blowing up. Here we go. The mayor is requesting to meet with all ANCs. Essentially, she's wanting to have her annual sit down to get, kind of the take of the ANCs, to get them all in one room, to kind of get their hot topics, to get their ideas, fresh ideas, to kind of figure out with this new, with the budget coming up, what are some things that are on, the ANC's mind as she gets the new budget and is going to be putting thought into that. So I just want to put that date on you guys' agenda. But I'll tell you again, the way things have been moving lately, that date may alter. But I do want to put that out there early, the 17th. I do know that a couple of commissioners might be busy in the upcoming weeks. Totally fine. I'll relay messages to you guys. And I do want to let you know that, again, the budget engagement, that is coming up. I don't have any main dates, but I do want to make sure that you guys are, kind of getting together, figuring out what is the hottest topics within your SMDs, figuring out what particular principals, directors that possibly you would like to come to one of these meetings. Can't guarantee anything, but we want to get those suggestions out there earlier. And so I'm just putting those two things on your mind. 17th ANC meeting with the mayor possible. And that date may be changing, but again, I'm just trying to put that in you guys' mind, put it on your plate. Please reach out to me if it's, anything or any conflict, schedule conflicts. I do know some commissioners have scheduling conflicts, but again, those are going to be my two updates, and hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time. Any questions, I could take those now.
That's great. Thanks. Commissioners, any questions? Comments? Thanks so much. We'll let you get back to your walk. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you.
Next, I believe we have Kristen Barton from the Adams Working Partnership in Business Improvement District. Good evening, Kristen. How are you doing?
Hey, good. How are you guys?
Doing all right.
All right. So a couple of things I wanted to ask about before I get into kind of a couple of our programming updates, and that is that we're doing the judging for the Valentine's Day decorating contest on a Friday, I think. And Daniel, I think you were originally gonna do it, right? But there's been a change.
Don Jones, he's gonna. Daniel's been exposed to COVID, right, Daniel?
Yep.
Oh,
Thankfully
okay.
negative, but out of caution, handing over the reins to my fellow commissioner.
Okay. So which one of you? I'm sorry. I'm
Not here tonight, Commissioner Jones, 1C09.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, great. Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while. So has he been okay?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not sure. He's been in communication, just hasn't made it to meetings. But 3 p.m. Friday at Potter's house is when it starts, right?
Right.
Got it.
Yep. Okay. All right, good. I just wanted to make sure we close that loop. Okay, great. And then you all, Peter, I think you were talking about rats at the very beginning of the meeting. And I just wanted to make sure you were all aware that there's a group of folks that come in from Baltimore, and there's no real schedule, but they bring the little rat terrier dogs. And they go through the mostly the commercial alleys because that's where there's a lot of rats. But they come in really late on Saturday nights because that's when the rats are most active. And they kill like 30, 50 rats a night. So the little dogs are super effective. But there's no like real schedule, and they're doing this as volunteers. So we coordinate the parking for them because they drive in from Baltimore, and at 10, 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday, parking is difficult. So we coordinate that for them. But they come in and do this because they want to give the dogs exercise. So it's there's no real schedule. I'm never quite sure when they're coming. But anyhow, I just wanted you all to know about it because it's a really effective tool at rat abatement. So anyhow, and if there's ever like an alley that you'd like them to focus on, where you have all seen a lot of rats, send those to me and I'll be sure to send, pass those along to them. So and like the number of dogs changes because again they're all doing this as volunteers. So but they're really awesome. So and they're super nice people too, besides the dogs being really cute. So a couple things I wanted to mention here. I've just brought up our newsletter. So yep, the store decorating contest, they're gonna judge on, so the judging in person will be on Friday afternoon, but the public judging actually starts Friday and runs through Tuesday, and then we'll announce the winners on Wednesday the 14th. So if you go to our website admodc.org/Valentines, you'll be able to vote on all of the public can vote on all of the different decorations. So, and there's going to be 2 prizes, one for food and beverage and one for retail and other services. And there'll be 2 prizes in each category. 1 prize in each category, 2 prizes total, each for $500. And then we've also started date nights again. So the whole idea is that Adams Morgan is your go-to place for any kind of date. We launched that last week, and so we're encouraging people to sign up so that they can win one of these fabulous date night packages. And we're drawing a random person's name every Monday. So, and we'll do that each week for the whole month. We're also doing a Black History Spotlight each week for the month of February to highlight all of our Black-owned businesses in Adams Morgan. So we highlighted Bill Lawrence Salon this week. And Bill Lawrence has been in Adams Morgan for 33 years. I did not realize that. I knew it'd been a long time, but I didn't realize it'd been 33 years. So he's got an amazing longevity in Adams Morgan. So if you're not familiar with his salon, please check it out. The other thing we're starting on a monthly basis is we're going to do a coffee hour. And it's very informal, coffee and conversation with the bid. And the idea is that we're inviting business owners. ANC is welcome, especially new business owners, to come and meet us, learn about our programming, or just meet one another. Venture X has offered to host this for us. So the first one's going to be next Thursday, February 15th, from 8:30 to 10. And then it'll be every third Thursday of each month, from 8:30 to 10. So again, there's no real agenda. It's just an opportunity to come and meet one another, meet us, learn about what we're doing. So yeah, and I think that's it from me. Let me just check real quick one more thing. Oh, there's all kinds of new small business funding opportunities that just came out in the last couple of weeks. The mayor did an event on Monday, rolling out all of these grant opportunities. The big one for a lot of our Adams Morgan businesses is the Great Streets Grant. And they're restructuring this a little bit. There's a written application that's due middle of March, but then there's also an opportunity for people to come and do oral presentations after that. And they're doing this two-step process to make sure that the grants are more available for people whose native language is not English. So they're enabling them to do the presentations in whatever their native language is. So they're really trying to make sure that the grant opportunities are more accessible. So I think it's fabulous. And it's, you know, a step in the right direction. So yeah, and I think that's it from me.
That's great.
I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks as always. Any questions, commissioners? Appreciate all the information. Good to see you. Looks like that's it. Have a good evening.
All right, great. Thank you.
Anyone else in attendance? Public speaking times now, unless you're here for a specific issue. All right, we'll move on. And I just have one proposed agenda change. Basically, like a day late is when we got a QFR. Was it Q? Yeah, QFR, quarterly financial report. I propose just having it. It's a typical thing we have to do every quarter. I propose adding it to consent agenda. I think everyone should have received it. There's not anything that we haven't heard, and I think Commissioner Shapiro detailed it. Can I get a second for that addition?
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner. All those in favor of the addition to the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 8-0. So they'll be added. Let's go straight to that consent agenda. There's a few items. The minutes got around a bit late, so if anyone wants to pull those off and put them towards next month, that's totally fair. I did go through them, and I think they're accurate, and everyone's received those today. But if not, we can vote. There's also license that was unanimously approved by the committee. Any questions, concerns about the consent agenda? All right, let's take a vote. Oh, actually, no, I need a second. I'll move to support to pass the consent agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Van Wy. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 8-0. Move on to our regular agenda. The first item from the ABC committee passed unanimously. For second medical cannabis retail license that we've had across our plate for Wash Hydro. Commissioner Falaskini, you want to introduce it? It's in my SMD. I can do it as well. Your choice.
Let's tag team it. Very normal overall application. These are going to be more common. We went through the rules, and the establishments that have already been retailing, this is their time period to convert to medical marijuana retail shops. And so we'll get a few of these, the places that have already been in establishment. There are some rules around where they can and cannot be. They cannot be within 300 feet of a school. I went out and measured it myself. It's more than 300 feet from Murray Reed Elementary. It's not near any other childcare facility or school. So it has that required distance. It doesn't appear to be within 400 feet of any other marijuana selling establishment that's currently licensed. And so it doesn't fit any other like preclusionary principles in the law. The owner seems really just law-abiding, really great guy. They grow all of their marijuana in DC. They are kind of a farm to table sort of establishment, if that's like a good like analogy in this business. They he has a great security plan for the operation. They currently ID up to 21 years old in the establishment. And the new law actually requires that they ID up to 18 and or they set they sorry they don't ID up to they don't allow anyone under 21 to purchase. The new law will allow 18 to 21-year-olds to purchase, but they will have to have a signed doctor's note. They won't be able to just self-attest for 18 to 21-year-olds that they need medical cannabis. So it will still kind of keep a lot of like 18 to 21-year-olds out. The security plan seems good. The overall kind of business establishment seems great. He's very involved in the community. He supports a lot of community work in general. I think everyone was in support of this particular establishment, at least, and their plan. And I'll pass it over to Peter because I know you were actually in touch with them outside of just the commission meeting.
Yeah, I mean, you covered pretty much everything. That was great. I put this, I mean, we could maybe potentially not have to discuss these in the future, but just because it's a new issue, I want to give the public chances to chime in. The owner seems very responsive, very responsible, very in touch with the community. He's been active for a long time. He's very transparent. He seemed very insistent on making sure that he's going above and beyond. So that's really appreciative for any business, of course. So yeah, this is an easy one for me. We've approved a similar, or we supported a similar application last month, and I think it meets the same standards. So I see no reason to object, but here for comments from anyone on the commission or otherwise, if you have any or questions. Anyone in attendance? Questions or comments, concerns? Well, on that, I'll move that we support this and potentially have a second. Farm to table is an interest. I don't think there's any farms or tables involved, but it makes sense to me, so it's funny. It worked.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes 8-0.
Depends on your definition of what a farm is.
That's a good point. All right, next item. This was, I believe, unanimous as well from the PZT committee. Commissioner Stevens, this was your work, right? If you want to introduce this resolution, we're all here for it.
Sure. Okay. This resolution has been floating around for a little while, so I'm just going to kind of give the Cliff Notes version, and then I can take questions. And then actually, after the resolution is voted upon, hopefully it will pass. I already have an addendum to put out there, I'm assuming to be voted on as well, and then I can incorporate it into the official resolution afterwards. So basically, this came to us as a resolution by 1A, and then we modified it a bit to maybe serve our ANC maybe a little better. So basically, this resolution calls for increased hiring for the DOB and OTR to boost greater efficiency and coordination between the two agencies, which is very important. Then it also increases tax penalties for delinquent developers and landowners that just let their property sit in disrepair. So basically, the tax penalty will raise per inflation rate and will also increase over time. And that's very important because, as we've seen, some of these properties just seem to sit forever unattended. And it also, oh, and I'm sorry. So there is again increase in penalty for inflation and increase as time goes by. But there is an exception for the residential classification in terms of true financial hardships. And I expand upon that a little bit with my addendum. And this resolution also, by the way, divides up properties into a commercial classification and residential classification. But for our version of the resolution, we basically have the same strict penalties for both commercial and residential, but the residential property owners and developers would potentially get an exception again for financial hardship and some other things, which I'll explain later. So then we are suggesting that the OTR explore measures to prevent negligent property owners from writing off any fines, penalties, fees, etc., from any DC or federal tax responsibilities. I have a number of constituents who are concerned that even though the tax penalties will go up for blighted and neglected properties and vacant properties, that somehow they're able to write it off, and that's the benefit that they're getting, and that's why they're just sitting on things and letting them crumble to the ground. And then our resolution also calls for the elimination of the year-long time period that owners have to get their property back once a tax sale occurs. And then again, though, that elimination of the 1 year time period, there would be an exception. I'm sorry, back it up. So there would be an exception for residential developers and property owners in terms of the elimination of the 1 year if they have a true financial hardship. So, and then what I think is really great about this resolution is it's starting to introduce the idea of reward for good property owners who maintain and even improve their properties. And that includes a request that OTR look into a policy that's similar to the Detroit Land Value Tax Plan. And honestly, and I told all the commissioners before that I'm not a tax expert, so I'm not, even though I've researched it ad nauseum, I'm not quite sure exactly what it involves, but I would like for the OTR to research that and see if it might work for DC. So basically, again, it's taxing the negligent property owners heavily, which allows the good property owners to get a tax break. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the concept there. So anyway, so now I think I'm open to questions here, if anybody has any.
I've got two. One, and you might not know this, that's totally okay. This is the resolution that's been in other ANCs. Do you have any idea what ANCs have had similar resolutions considered or passed? I assume once AC 1A, is that correct?
Yes, 1A, but I am not sure. But one thing that I didn't mention here in the resolution is still calling for the formation of a task force, which will include city council members and ANCs and other people. And the 1A commissioner, he's kind of spearheading that and is trying to get people involved. So anyway, I guess I should ask him. He would probably know better, I guess, than I would on that. So yeah, so I'm not sure about that right now.
That's okay. I just thought I'd ask. Second question, is there, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, like a raw file, like a doc file or something that you could send of this, just so that if this passes, that makes it, I don't think I have the ability on here.
It's in the agenda. There's a link.
It's okay. We'll talk about it later. I just
Okay.
There's probably a way. I might just have to copy and paste the text.
I do have a question. The differentiation between commercial and residential properties, are we differentiating between a commercial as an office building or retail and mixed use, and a residential property as in an apartment building?
Yes.
Well, I'm opposed to that. I think that if anything, you're gonna find that apartment building owners are some of the worst scofflaws in this in terms of vacant and blighted property. You know, I really now it's different a hardship for an owner occupied residential property, I totally in agreement with that. But if someone owns a house somewhere else or an apartment building, I don't see how they're different from a commercial entity.
Well, okay, that I see what you're saying. So what I think that I need to do then is to clarify that the residential classification is for single family
or owner occupied.
homeowners, owner
It
occupied.
doesn't, not necessarily single family, but owner occupied. So if you had a 4-unit building with an owner in it, and he was, for whatever reason, it might be that he just doesn't have the money, I'm more inclined to support that, but not somebody that owns a 30-unit building. He's letting it deteriorate because that way he gets his tenants out, and that way he gets it's more valuable.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I need to figure out how to clarify that. Because if I say owner occupied, though, the tax penalties are vacant for vacant properties and also
there should be
blighted.
no benefit. If it's a vacant, there's a difference between vacant and blighted, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yes. So vacant would be class 3 and vacant blighted would be class 4.
Right. I think vacant properties, period. I don't see any reason that we would offer any reduction or any benefit to a residential. If anything, it might be the exact opposite, because the residential properties that are vacant, clearly are in more demand. But a blighted property, a residential blighted property that's owner occupied, I think that I can see offering a great deal of leeway for, but not just a vacant residential property. No, absolutely not.
Okay, so you're liking the resolution, but just not the exception.
Yeah.
So this might touch on what you're suggesting or alluding to earlier, Commissioner Stevens, that you wanted to amend something. I don't know if it's this or not, but
but I think it's going to be worse. I think I think Barney's going to hate Commissioner Shapiro is going to hate it even more. But
hate's a strong word.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm just trying to think of an example here of what I'm trying to get at. Like, say, and I kind of keep using this tired example, but like, say you don't live in the property, but say you have a relative who is ill and they pass away and they will that property to you. Then you got something in your hands that you want to keep in the family, perhaps, right? But you may or may not have the money, to do it. So it's something like that, so I'm not really in there, or must be other types of situations like that. And
totally
that's where
opposed to that. Totally opposed. If you're living in it and you don't have the money, totally in support of that. But if you're not living in something, there's no reason to allow it to be vacant, residential, to allow it to be vacant, much less blighted. None in this city. So I think that encourages, if anything, it's almost encourages people to leave properties vacant. So I think you're going the wrong way there.
Okay.
So just to clarify, I know that we don't have numbers on the text, which is okay, but which section of text are we kind of discussing right now? Which clause?
Let's see. Hold on. I'll put up here. That would be.
It's a resolve clause, correct?
Yeah.
Just the number of first is therefore be resolved. ANC once he calls on, that'd be 1.
Okay, so it would be. Let's see. It's. Actually, it's the one. Therefore, be it resolved, and it's the one right after that.
Second resolve clause. Okay.
Yes.
The one in question. I mean, this is an interesting discussion. It's important. My SMD has definitely has blighted and vacant properties. I imagine others do too. I mean, we don't write the law, so I don't want to like overextend ourselves to try to address every minute thing, because there's a chance that we get ignored anyway, and we just want to get to our point. So we can, I mean, it's definitely fruitful in some ways to discuss it all here, but I don't think it's necessary. Any other commissioners or either of you have any suggestions on if we should make any adjustments to the text? And we can also leave it as is and just take a vote. It's okay. It's up to you as well, because you kind of spearheaded this, but as a commission, we can decide.
Well, I mean, I could go back to the after Commissioner Sparrow's comment. I could go back to the drawing board a bit, and then we can vote another time.
And it's up to you all. Another idea as well. I mean, like I said, it's always helpful to remind ourselves that we're not rewriting law. We're just making suggestions, and people that write the law take into account. If there's like minute points that or specific points that we want to address, like budget oversight season or other meetings, is an opportunity as individual commissioners to testify and elaborate. Even if you can't make it in person, in writing, that's definitely an option as well. There seems like there's people throughout the city that are interested in this same issue, so we could unite forces, because like I said, at least my personal opinion, we don't have to spend such extensive time trying to get the specific wording for a thing down. But if it's like a broader issue, that could be useful to make sure that it's clearly communicating this, because that's like the risk with a thorough law resolution like this, is that it encompasses a lot, but it also runs the risk of being kind of brushed aside by the agencies. I mean, we can't read their minds, so who knows, but we hope to get everything. And the auditor's most recent report a few years ago said that they do not, even when they're legally obligated to give us great weight. So it's frustrating, but
yeah. And I mean, I see what Commissioner Sparrow is saying. He doesn't want to give any opening to give bad delinquent property owners the go ahead to continue to be bad owners and community members, if you know what I'm saying. So I could go back to the drawing board on the wording of that. Now, should I go ahead and run the addendum past everyone in case I can incorporate that into what we vote on later, or
it's up to you. If you want to propose an amendment, the process is, if no one opposes the amendment, then it just is accepted. But if any single commissioner has an objection, then we take a vote on the amendment being added or made.
Okay, well, let's see. Like I say, the first one I don't think will be accepted. The second one I think might be, the second point might be accepted. Okay, so I spoke to a residential contractor friend of mine, and he actually has worked with some people where it's not necessarily a financial hardship. Like, say, here you go, Commissioner Shapiro, they live in one place, but they're trying to renovate an old residence so that then they will move into that one. So so my friend was saying it's not necessarily a financial hardship, it is an administrative hardship that the Department of Buildings within the Department of Buildings permitting process, there are so many delays and complications that sometimes it takes years on end to actually get a permit, and then within that span of time, then the building is declared vacant and blighted, and then they get hit with the fees, and then it derails their goals of ever improving the property. So what his suggestion was is, in addition to true financial hardship exceptions, residential classification should be allowed an administrative hardship exception in the event that complications and delays within the permitting process beyond the homeowner's control occur. That's one. And then two, and this is one that I came up with, I said ANC 1C proposes that the Department of Building fully staff the permitting divisions of their agency, including the hiring of permit applicant advocates who walk applicants through the process. The permit advocates should be available to both residential and commercial applicants. I do feel this should be in there because a lot of times individuals are just not savvy in terms of the whole process. And if that can be improved in terms of the ease of getting permits, well, that makes it that much easier for homeowners and commercial property owners to get a permit and improve their property. So I think that portion should be in our resolution, that advocate be hired. Because, for instance, I'm a commercial designer and I have worked for I do work for a large firm, have worked for large firms, and they have tons of resources, tons of connections within the departments of building, within the jurisdictions. They have expediters, they have all kinds of resources, that an individual may or may not. So anyway, so that's all.
But the individuals use the expediters. And what you're doing by doing that, by having DOB, or is the DOB, or is the permit office? I can never remember which is which.
Right.
Have permit advocates. You're actually taking away jobs and businesses from people. I would object to that too.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Trying to differentiate between, is someone who's building a $5 million house in upper Northwest, are they going to use the permit advocate as opposed to someone who's trying to, build 4 apartments in a blighted neighborhood? Who gets the permit advocate and who uses an expediter? I think there's an industry there, and I don't think we should. I think we should.
Oh, no, but it's not taking the place of an expediter at all. It's actually when well, first of all, I'm asking that the Department of Building just hire more people, including people who will walk people through the permitting process. And a lot of people don't even know that it's advantageous to hire an expediter. They don't even know that can happen. So what these advocates will do is walk someone through the process so that they know, again, just the ins and outs of the whole thing. And, again, yes, it costs money to hire an expediter, but that is going to be worth every cent of it. And I'm just trying to make it easier for people to get permits and move forward with their work, as opposed to allowing the building to sit blighted because they're caught up in the administrative pitfalls.
Also, unless I'm mistaken, it used to be this way, but once you applied for a permit, you were no longer subject to the OTR definition of a vacant or blighted. You were making good faith efforts, just like for commercial properties that are vacant. As long as you're marketing them, and then DOB would like them to be full, but the facts are they're going to have less and less work because there are less and less buildings being built in the city.
Okay, well, I was under the impression that you actually had to have approved permit for the penalties to stop. But it may be that once you put in an application.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is it used to be you just had to put in an application. It may have changed.
It may have changed. Let me clarify that. And maybe I go back to the drawing board guys and research that one aspect about the application versus approved permit, and then kind of tweak the language a bit. And I don't want to take too much more of y'all's time, but let me ask one question here. So, but did it make sense? I sort of flubbed my little cliff notes here about the year-long time period. So what I'm trying to say, and actually, Commissioner Shapiro, you may object to this too. So I'm calling for the elimination of the year-long time period owners have to get their property back after tax sale, with the exception of the financial hardship for the residential classifications.
Once again, it's what's residential? Is it
right?
It is. That's going to be a judicial thing, and because it's almost it's almost taking properties, and I really am not fond of the city taking properties because it never does anything good with them.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a question,
but it sounds like Commissioner Shapiro, you're being more strict though. You're not less.
The doing away with the 1 year, I've seen it where that people need that 1 year to reclaim their properties. I mean, and it goes to
Okay.
the court anyway now for foreclosure or for foreclosure. I guess not on a tax deed, it doesn't. But the one other question is, do you know if the tax commission addressed any of this?
That's a question for Commissioner Stevens.
You mean have I run it past the OTR?
No. We had a tax commission that I thought the report was finished. And I don't know whether they addressed this issue of vacant and blighted and all that or not.
I can look into that and see. On offhand I would say no, but I can look into it.
So I'm going to interject quickly. I have a proposal. There's a lot of information. I can only speak for myself, but I've got a little bit lost on where we sit with everything. And I know that you spent a lot of time on this, Commissioner Stevens.
Yeah.
Commissioner Strapower, you're quite knowledgeable and seem passionate on this issue as well. What if we vote to? I move that we would postpone this till March, and the two of you can try to shape something up that. And of course, we don't need a consensus, but in the pursuit of consensus or unanimity on the commission, you two can spend the next month trying to shape up some of the points we're discussing today, so that in a month, presumably, we can kind of review that, as opposed to trying to have the conversation here live, because it's a lot harder to get that happen while we're on this, as opposed to with time and emails and texts and things. Second for that. Anyone in favor of voting on this month postponement? Commissioner Shapiro, that was you. All right, all those in favor of postponing this item a month and seeing where we sit then, please say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I hate to interject like that in the conversation because there's a lot of information and it's really helpful, but don't want us to just kind of start chasing our own tails in a meeting like this. I think that it would be most beneficial for everyone to just take a breath and put our knowledge and expertise to good use like that. So looking forward to it, and I know you've worked really hard on this, Commissioner Stevens.
It's no problem. That's why I'm here, to get the feedback and all that stuff. And I'm sorry I took everyone's time here, but I just wanted to talk through a few things. And like I say, we can go back to the drawing board and we'll try again later. Thank you.
That's good. So last issue, I don't expect this item to have any voting matter on it, but kind of actually Gerard, our Moker, kind of mentioned it today. Budget season's approaching, and we did it last year where we had a letter that we had kind of a wish list of budget items, probably helpful to start discussing that. So I just wanted to have the opportunity for commissioners and anyone in the public to kind of voice any items. I have some ideas and we can of course shape this over the course of probably the next month. I think March is a good timeline to try to get that. And I've talked to Gerard about that, and he was saying some of the stuff you want to get off as soon as possible. So that's kind of why I put this on the agenda, just to have an opportunity to talk. I'm taking notes here. Anyone have any ideas? Anything from your SMDs, public works projects, infrastructure, other things that are more citywide or ward-wide or whatever? Kind of anything on anyone's radar in terms of what would be interesting points to discuss to try to support on a letter of fiscal year 2025 budget recommendations? I'll give mine after everyone else has a chance to speak.
Well, I mean, the circulator bus, is that the kind of thing you're talking about?
It's up to you.
I mean, I'd like to continue the circulator bus.
Yeah, so that was something that we collectively, a few ANCs kind of saved for a year last year, right? Where it was on the chopping block. We passed a specific resolution, I think. Actually, it might have been in our letter too, I forget. But yeah, that's a good. Anything in specific, just kind of, I mean, ideally fund it indefinitely, right?
I mean, that's offhand, that's what I would think of, but I need to just kind of think through some things, and maybe can we send you a
of course, I'm just
note or something on it? Oh.
Yeah, this is just kind of a brainstorming and just an opportunity for people in attendance if anyone wants to comment. Other commissioners, any other items? And no pressure right now. We can, over the course of the next few weeks, discuss
I
as well.
thought this was supposed to be addressed this year, but there's still like a lot of erosion issues at Colorama Park.
Oh yeah.
Like the sidewalks are crumbling. Like that park really needs some special attention.
I agree. That was one of the items I was about to mention as well. When we had a walkthrough in the parks with, I think it was Chris Dyer and I forget who else, someone else from DPR, forget his name, but I remember his face. We asked him about this. I've been in communication with him about this specific thing as well, because that's in my SMD. Basically, they haven't been able to acquire the funding for what would be needed to make a permanent fix, but they are almost ready to make a temporary kind of like hold it in place until it can actually be better. That hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it's coming soon. But yeah, I like the idea. It's because it definitely wouldn't hurt to support saying, hey, we really need money for this, because if you don't, and I think this is a good idea, at least in my opinion, for this budget season specific, to try to say, hey, these are things that if we don't invest in it now, even when, because it's probably going to be kind of an austerity budget, there's things that if we don't do it now, it'll be significantly more expensive in the future. So we want to make sure that those are addressed. And that's definitely one of them, because a lot of people live there and erosion can get very expensive. So yeah, there's a long-winded way of saying I agree. Anything else? All right. Yep, go
Sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, are we open to addressing revenue side in our letter? You know, the tax revision commission sort of imploded at the end and walked back from a lot of its earlier ideas around increasing revenue. If you talk about it being an austerity budget, only because we're not you know, in my opinion, making certain residents and corporations pay their fair share. So there are solutions on the table, and I'm wondering if we're open to endorsing some of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course up to us collectively. I like that idea. I think my first year as commissioner, 2021, we tried to do that, and then the chair at the time did not like the idea of taxing the rich. He's rich, so that got removed. But we can pursue it again, because yeah, like you make a very good point. If we address the money coming in, maybe the money going out can be a little bit easier. So, you have any specific proposals? No pressure.
Yeah, there's the business activities tax. You know, a lot of folks are incorporated outside of DC, but do most of their work in DC. You know, an architect that's you know, registered in Virginia, but you know, for example, does most of their work in DC is not taxed at all on that. Yeah, there's some other proposals that I've been following. But yeah, I know that there will be some coordinated campaigns from some advocacy groups to get some of those incorporated in the budget.
Yeah, that's good. I'll create a shared document with some notes from this that over the course of the next few weeks we can collectively start commenting and trying to shape something together. How does that sound? And yeah, we can definitely, I mean, it's up to, we can write, I think I've said this before, if we want to just bang on a keyboard and send that to people, we're allowed to if we vote in favor of it. It's not necessarily a logical idea, but we can make good ideas that make sense or have coherent sentences as well. So yeah, I think that revenue is a good thing to address. Anyone else? Any suggestions or questions? A few that so actually I've talked to, I think it was Gerard. He was, or maybe someone else, maybe multiple people. They were kind of noting that there may or may not be some budget money that could be directed towards something like streetery uniform barriers type of thing. I think it could be helpful to put something like that. I don't know how specific we can make it, but I was told rumors that there could be money that is indirect or implicit. It's like the idea is that it should be going towards 18th Street, but no one actually wrote down anywhere officially that it's for Adams Morgan. But it seems like a lot of people have made noise saying, yeah, 18th Street could be aesthetically a little bit better situation for the streeteries. So it could be worth putting in. I'll add that. We can kind of discuss that. Actually just had a conversation today with someone. I usually try to stay up to beat with the people in domestic violence survivor support. They have a lot of, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on the issue, but one thing that we discussed was translation services are often overlooked, and a lot of gun violence in DC, like 10% according to their stats, is domestic violence, and it gets pretty much entirely overlooked in all of the discussions of crime legislation. Very rarely does domestic violence get included. So a small thing, but could be worth advocating for at least that people that have language barriers outside of English could at least be able to be in advocacy with that. I guess last week I also had a conversation with someone that's involved with overdose kind of advocacy. I'm in support personally of trying to get DC to get at least one, if not two, overdose prevention centers. There's one in New York. I can go into more detail, but I'll add some citations if people are interested in learning about that, because we talk about gun violence, which is of course important, but the overdose epidemic has been really bad in DC as well as Appalachia and other areas, and it doesn't get quite the same amount of, I guess, intense discussion that it might warrant, vis-a-vis some of the other points. So just to reiterate, not making any decisions tonight, but just kind of tossing out ideas. I have a couple other. Anyone want to interject here with any other thoughts or any questions?
I would just follow what Margaret said, with the circulator bus. Do we have a sense of, I have a feeling, I mean, it seems to be like every budget, but that Metro might be a big issue for the FY25 budget. So I don't know if there's a more like that, if we thought of like priority like items, like I think we know transportation and public transportation will be like, I think no matter what, we'll want to support something around that. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I don't think Metro's fiscal health is super healthy right now.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the case.
So it's going to be more than just the circulator. This is like, so I think we might think a little bit more broadly about what we could do to help, I don't know, support that or make sure that our communities are heard when it comes to the transportation issues. And if it's a question about how do we fund it, then we do what, Daniel said, and we got to get some revenue.
Yeah, I agree with Daniel's idea there and Linda's idea there. But I guess, I've heard a lot of good suggestions here, but I just feel like my head is swimming and I just need to kind of, sort through some things. And then Peter, I think you said you're going to get maybe like a community bulletin board between us or whatever we can, I don't know, add on or something. I'm not quite sure what you were saying about that, but a brainstorming list or whatever we can all add to, maybe Google Doc or something, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'll stop now. It's easier to review text as well. I just wanted to at least get a few ideas out in discussion like this, and the community the opportunity to comment as well. But especially when we come up with something more solidified, hypothetically put it on our next agenda for next month and have something the public can read and comment as well. We can develop that over the coming weeks. One thing I did want to ask, anything in Walter Pierce? I haven't really paid attention to like the infrastructure needs in Walter Pierce as much as the other parks lately. Anyone know if there's anything that needs to be addressed in there, or is it doing okay? I know there's a hole in the basketball court. I don't think it's been fixed. Is that accurate? Anyone know?
I think that's accurate. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get out there in the last couple of weeks, and I haven't heard anything from my constituents, but that's pretty squarely in my ANC. And over in the next couple of weeks, I'll do like a sort of survey of it and see, and if any of our three attendees are one of my constituents and have thoughts, let me know, and I'll reach out to my community as well.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know, and yeah, appreciate that in advance. I know that pothole has at least made some people upset, including my ankles at one point. So hopefully, I mean, it's also like another point where it's of course up to us what we want to advocate for, but like it, in my opinion, can be advantageous to try to do a mix of here are broader things that we know need advocacy and push, and also these specific things we're targeting, because the broad things matter, but also it's a lot easier to get very specific things done as an ANC. So I think a mix makes sense. So you're not abandoning issues, but also being practical. Okay, so yeah, I'll stop there. Like I said, I have some others, but I'll share that with everybody and we can discuss it. Any other questions, comments about this? All right. Well, no, like I said, no, I don't think any vote needed on this. So that was really helpful. I think everyone seems to say that this is gonna be a tough budget season. So we'll see what we can do. Hopefully it won't be awful, because DC has the potential for a lot of tax revenue to be able to address these things. But the COVID,
But it may be, this is not going to be the bad one. The next 2 years coming, that's when it's really going to be bad.
a year more leases expire. Yeah, the commercial.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the office building and that base of our tax revenue is just, it's going to plummet. And I just think that I think we need to look at it both ways. I actually like Daniel's idea of taxing the out-of-state businesses, and I actually like taxing the rich more, but I also want less government. So I'd rather see us any additional revenues. I'd like to reduce the sales tax rate. I'd like to go to, be a little bit more progressive in terms of our taxation. Just tax is never going to work. We're going to lose, there's a law of diminishing returns for taxes, and we're pretty much at that wall right now.
Oh, that's good points. You as well as anyone, if you have specifics, articulate in text and we can discuss it over the month. That's definitely helpful. Anything else, anybody? Good meeting this month. Good discussion. All right. Have a good night. This meeting is adjourned. All moved.
Wait, hold on one
Thank you.
second. Didn't
Oh, yeah.
did we do the budget that we added to the agenda?
That went to the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's
Sorry.
just quarterly financial report. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry to interrupt.
Thanks for checking. All right. Meeting adjourned.